I think as you become more seasoned, you understand more and more how important it is to perpetuate the dream. And the only way to do that is to use the platform that you've created, almost as if it's time for you to pass a torch and say, listen, this is why this is important. We have to protect water. We have to protect our culture, our way of life. And the best way to do that is for me to act as a megaphone now at the point in my career that I'm at. You can't rely on someone else to be the guy. You now have to be the guy, you out there. Everyone has a responsibility to take care of the state of Florida. The best way to do that is, start with you, number one.
Fortunately, I was able to fish with a very good friend of mine, C.A. Richardson. C.A. is very well known around the state. He is the host of Flats Class TV, and he's been a host of several other shows. He's won many, many tournaments up and down the line. He's just authentically C.A. He doesn't try to be anything else. He has no ego. He simply loves this sport. He loves the water, and it translates on screen.
This is a place that I'm familiar with.
Is it?
So this ought to be a little bit of fun, a little nostalgic.
Because he's a natural teacher, all he ever wants to do is educate people on fishing, on the best etiquette practices, and our water issues. He was a perfect choice to represent the West Coast in our Red Tide episode.
You'll notice that up here where we're at is about 8 inches of water covering sand, but right here you see the deeper holes, the green water. So we're gonna fish this finger of deeper water because most of these fish are gonna be piled up on the edges of it. So we'll just surgically fish this zone here and then swing around that point and then get back out of the wind again.
In 2018, the West Coast of Florida was plagued with red tide, the worst red tide we've ever seen. It was compounded by excess nutrients that came from Lake Okeechobee in the form of cyanobacteria, high nitrates, high phosphates coming out of the lake. And this red tide spanned over 135 miles of the West Coast, killing businesses from marine industry down the line.
Well, for me, I honestly feel like it's my responsibility to talk about these water issues because it is impactful to everyone. I mean, yes, I've got skin in the game, and Benny, who I fish with today, has skin in the game. The camera guys have skin in the game. Let me tell you, everyone has skin in the game. We all live within 2 hours of the coast, and this is a ripple effect. It's just not anglers. It's people that enjoy recreation on the water, it's homeowners, it's hospitality industry people, it's everybody. If you're an auto mechanic, it matters. It matters to everyone. Everyone should be connected. There he is.
Got him?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just throwing the slack back, Benny,
Yeah.
at the fish, that allows that bait to flash and just sort of hang.
Right.
That's what they want. I can't tell if I really hooked a good trout or if I've got Mr. Red. Looks
Well,
like a good trout.
It's a redfish.
Is it red? Yeah, it is. Well, I can't tell.
Let me show you what a redfish looks like.
You think, when I tell, oh, that's a real trout, man.
Is it?
That is a real trout.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Here,
I'll show you this net that I got. See?
yeah, wet it up because you're gonna want that one. This is a solid 22, 23, maybe even a 24-inch fish. Here she comes.
Nice.
Oh man, that is a great net. Look at that. It's almost like you've got a live well
Uh-huh.
right there.
The reason I know it's so great is it works perfectly for bonefish, which is maybe the most fragile.
Yeah.
It doesn't take any of the slime off the bonefish, and you can leave it in the current.
You can work with the fish and you're not gonna do any harm to it. It goes away at good speed.
The best part is you can still be an Instagram hero.
That's right. You certainly can.
The fish can be happy.
Yes.
You pick the fish up out of the water, take a quick picture, put it right back in there, wait till he's perfect, and then let him go. As outdoorsmen, we have to be more stewards of the fisheries and the fish that we fish.
Well, we can just repeat that about a dozen times. It'll be a heck of a day.
That'd be great.
Before Mother Nature gets the best of us here.
This segment is brought to you by Angle. Live original. Florida Sportsman Watermen is sponsored in part by these fine companies.
The awesome part about Tampa Bay is that it is absolutely a success story. 30 years ago or more, it was a cesspool because raw sewage was being dumped directly into the bay. And there was no grass, the flats were destroyed, and the fishing was horrible. But today, through efforts over the years, grass is back. If anything could lend us hope in our overall fight for water in the state of Florida, is that Mother Nature is extremely resilient. If we can simply just curb our ways of doing things with overflow and sewage and nitrates and phosphates and sending the water south through the Everglades, she'll bounce back.
Oh, he pulled free.
Oh no.
It was a snook. Gosh. Oh. Oh, don't tell me you got off. Gosh. Ugh. Hate when that happens. Hate it.
Oh God, that was a big hit. That's like four missed strikes for me.
They're not being very committed to the effort.
Definitely not.
Notice how some of the fish that I've caught too have been sort of chin hooked.
Uh-huh.
Got me between twitches. Hate when that happens.
Hey, see, there's this guy that gives a class
I know.
on how
Here
to
we
catch
go.
fish. I'll send you his information later. As we continued to fish this trough, it was evident there were a lot of fish there. And unfortunately, our time was very short. Yes.
That was the pattern. He stopped that plug.
He's going against the current, against the wind anyways.
Well, because I don't know if he's a snook, I'm gonna pull in the direction he wants to go.
That's right. I'm coming down.
Oh, this one's gonna take me on a walkabout. That's
Redfish.
big red.
Redfish.
Big red. The Rusty Raider. Come on, Rusty.
Got her.
There you go. Just as we were getting in a groove, Benny and I were in a groove. We were getting a few short strikes, we were catching a couple of fish, just landed the redfish, but the roll of thunder and the shroud of clouds, and then a drop of rain here and there, and then it was quite evident we were gonna have to run for our lives because we were gonna get soaking wet. So we decided to make a run up to a little place that I used to call Waltz, but it's called the Old Bay Cafe.
Well, the weather stinks, but I heard the food doesn't. So.
Not here, not here. This is a great little cafe, and they have their own seafood fleet, and the fish spread here, best on the West Coast, I promise you.
Let's do it.
What was sort of neat about being chased off by the rain is you start to realize, well, everybody got chased off by the rain. And then truck by truck by truck, here come the guides. We're all in the same boat, which tells you this is the type of fishing community that we have here. Now we've got a table. We've got a table full of guides. We got Captain Court, we got Captain Jeff with us. We've got some avid people that are there that are kayak anglers sitting with us. And the next thing you know, the conversation starts to talk about the water.
It's important that every Floridian understands that they're connected to water one way or another.
Yeah.
I mean, this entire state, we have nothing to offer other than water.
We do.
Our water dictates everything in this state.
No matter where you live in this state, you are literally less than 2 hours from the coast. It's a narrow state, and we know that during hurricane season because everyone's trying to figure a way out of here, and there is no place that you can go in this state during a hurricane. You either leave the state or you hunker down, that's it. Well, with water, it's the same way. Whether you live along the coast or if you live inland along a river or a lake, you're directly affected because everyone being affected in the zones that we see that are in the media all the time, those people, if that part of the state suffers enough, they are going to move. And they're going to move into your backyard. And then that's going to create a bunch of problems. So everyone should think that this is their problem. Whether you live in North Florida or South Florida, this is everybody's problem.
No doubt.
This segment is brought to you by Yozuri, fish the best. Florida Sportsman Watermen is sponsored in part by these fine companies.
Coming all the way up to Tampa Bay, there's absolutely no way that I was going to pass up an opportunity to fish with some of the local guys. I had the opportunity to get out with a fellow guide, my buddy Captain Nick Angelo, to fish a different part of the bay that I didn't get to fish with CA. And it was great to see the diversity and the dynamics of Tampa Bay fishery. I mean, it's easily one of the best fisheries in this country.
It's very important that, the older generation of guides, the more, guys have just been doing it longer, because they've seen the problems that we have now evolve. They will set an example for a lot of the younger guys to the crowd, if they step up and sort of, take charge and do something.
When I reached out to my friends at Tampa Bay, it was just a natural thing to want to get together. And we did so at a local fishing bar.
And so my effort here is simply to make sure that you understand that you are the stewards of your water. No one's gonna fight for it like you will.
People are concerned. People get emotional about what's going on in their fishery, and they want to know what they can do. So they talk about the problem, and then we have a few people that are very qualified, like Andy Hayslip, to talk about what the possible solutions are.
Our number one pollutant in the Tampa Bay watershed is nutrient pollution, and it's something that impacts our seagrass. It is something that is fuel to the fire for harmful algal blooms like red tide, and 63% of the excess nitrogen in Tampa Bay comes from stormwater pollution. So our number one goal is to rein that in through smarter land use development codes and through working with local governments to reel that in so that we can better protect our right to clean water here in Tampa Bay.
Got it. Thanks, dude.
Nice
Yay.
work. Yes.
These are really positive meetings that are going to turn into something much larger over the entire year. And you realize that you're recruiting people through education. And this is going to be the way we change policy here in the state. It's going to change the political will in Florida and make it so that we can fix the water issues.
Join us for this week's On the Conservation Front as we dive deeper into critical water issues facing the state. Florida Sportsman has been leading the fight on the conservation front lines for over 50 years.
The red tide is naturally occurring in the Gulf of Mexico. The latest science indicates that Lake Okeechobee's toxic discharges can increase both the severity and the duration of red tide blooms.
Although a lot of these species of algae or plankton are, say, natural in a system, some aren't, they are being exacerbated, enhanced because of the nutrients, because of climate change. Studies that have looked globally at harmful algal blooms have shown that places where humans put nutrients into coastal systems are the hotbeds for harmful algal blooms. So even though the red tide is naturally occurring in the Gulf of Mexico, it starts offshore. Some evaluative research has shown that the concentration of red tide in coastal waters in southwest Florida is 20 times higher than it is offshore where the red tide starts. And that's where that red tide meets the nutrients.
Yes, red tide is naturally occurring, but the location the intensity, the duration, the extent of this event strongly suggest that this bloom is being fed by the nutrients coming from man-made sources. Lake Okeechobee is one of them. Sewer and urban runoff is a major problem. Agricultural runoff, ineffective municipal water treatment, fertilizer from private homes and commercial operations, including agriculture and sugar, citrus, horse farms and sod farms. These are all problems.
The money needs to be put in upstream solutions, and upstream solutions are all about stopping the nutrients at their source.
For BTT, we see the underlying cause of red tide, blue-green algae, brown tide, the list goes on, to be water mismanagement at the state level. It's a policy issue.
This segment is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
CA took me to this beautiful flat. There was grass everywhere, which was a great sight to see. Unfortunately, the tide wasn't right yet, but we had a lot of indications that there may be fish there. Birds everywhere, and mullet jumping, and mullet muds, and stingrays, and everything in my instincts told me that the fish were going to be here.
Yes, good job,
Sight fish
Steve.
that one.
Saw that.
A couple of 2, now working on 3 million people living here. That is amazing to me to know how resilient this fishery is and how good it truly is. We have snook, we have redfish, we have trout, we have great tarpon fishing, we have good king fishing, we have nearshore grouper fishing here. It's the total package. And if you live here, I mean, all the amenities, these are some of the most beautiful beaches in the entire Southeast. I would defy anyone to tell me that the beaches between Clearwater and St. Petersburg aren't the best vacation spots in the U.S.
Gotcha.
In the live well you go.
Atta boy.
Way to go.
Good job, man.
It's nice when a plan comes together.
I don't mind working for it as long as they give up some.
Yeah, hey, I get it. I get it. You can only take so much rejection. If I get one takeaway out of this whole show, it's going to be that I need one of these nets. Other than the fact that, you know, our friendship's getting better.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things that has really been something that's gone through my entire career has been the love of catching sea trout. It's sort of the crappie of my life. When you absolutely positively have to deliver a bite, there is nothing better than a speckled trout. Especially the school-sized speckled trout. And what's nice about them is they're at that point in their life cycle where they have to constantly eat so that they don't turn into bait for another species. So they're like having a teenager that opens your refrigerator door, hangs their elbow there, and starts drinking a carton of milk, and then they're pulling out, you know, one carton of food after another. That is what school-sized speckled trout provide.
Man, see, this is like 30 in 30 minutes.
It's crazy. I mean, once you find a bite like this, it's hard to leave it.
Yeah.
Really hard to leave it. When I talk to folks and say, you should be concerned about red tide whether you're in the affected area or not, because guess what? These guys are going to have to fish somewhere, and it will be your backyard. So it's to everyone's benevolence to make sure that the water's clean everywhere. But to put it in perspective for you, what happens is when you have a really serious, epic red tide event like we had last year, it displaces a lot of the fishing pressure to the south of us. Right. And what happens is those fishing guides that are making a living down there have no fish to catch. So all of a sudden we go from 200 guides in this area to 400 guides overnight. And the local weekend warrior follows as well. So it puts a lot of disproportionate pressure on this fishery, and it has a certain, you know, adverse effect to our way of doing things here.
The weather bared down with a vengeance. It gave us a beautiful morning, and then it came twice as hard in the afternoon. But as we were running to the ramp, we could see one little window in an area where we may be able to catch a snook, and we still needed the snook for the slam.
hoping we got enough time to hit this edge all the way down.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna be tighter to the bank today. I would think the water would put them there.
Even better.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Snook.
The snook. Ooh. The snook. Not a monster, but a snook nonetheless. One of the big three. And with the rain bearing down on us, I'll take them. Beautiful fish. I'll never get tired of catching snook. And Tampa Bay is chock full of them. You know, sometimes the better part of valor is to let it go.
Yep. A great man once said, know when to fold them.
That's right. Know when to fold them. Off she goes. Back to the ramp.
Thank you.
Nice. Nice day out on the water.
I can always count on CA to support any efforts with regards to clean water.
Whether you're in an area that's impacted by red tide or not, to get involved, because we have to solve these issues. It's a natural occurring event, but it's exacerbated by some of these issues, and we have to change those issues. Best way to change those issues is to change political policy. So you have to vote. You have to vote for the right candidate. You have to pay attention. You have to educate yourself. You have to educate everyone around you.
I take away hope from Tampa Bay. The community understands that there's water issues and they are willing to talk about it and willing to make changes. If we could just use Tampa Bay as an example of how we could treat every fishery in the state, then hope and change is not far away.